Hello, my name is Sarah Armand Bushell and I'm a registered dietitian and children's nutritionist. I have over 20 years of experience working with families both within the NHS and in my private practice. School-aged children need 40 different nutrients every single day for growth, for health and for well-being. Between the ages of 5 and 11, growth is rapid and so a balance of nutrients is key. This includes getting adequate energy from food for growth and to fuel activity, but not too much so that weight gain becomes an issue. A balanced diet also includes enough of the macronutrients, protein, fats and carbohydrates, as well as the vitamins and minerals. And it's the combination of these are what ensures that children remain healthy, are able to fight infections, have enough energy to be active and play, and to be able to concentrate and learn at school. But as well as that, eating plays a role in learning social skills and developing a love of food. Childhood is the optimal time to teach children about healthy eating so that they can make good food choices as they grow into adults. And how we feed our children or interact around food influences this education. Let's start by looking at food. Children's energy requirements are around 1,500 to 2,000 calories a day, which is not dissimilar to an adult female. However, it's easy for children to take more than this and not do enough exercise, which is why in general children are getting heavier. Children are born with a preference for sweet and high-fat foods. It's an evolutionary thing to encourage newborn babies to seek out the breast because breast milk is sweet and very high in fat. And this preference or desire stays with us right through childhood. And so children have this innate desire to eat and drink high-sugar, high-fat foods. Eating well is linked to cognitive performance, which includes attention and memory, and academic performance in school, and it's also linked to a reduction in disruptive behaviour. Getting too hungry can cause moods to dip and concentration to wane. Conversely, if lunch is made up of high fat and high sugar foods, those that the children prefer, they will feel lethargic and sleepy in the afternoon. Think of that mid-morning slump we've all felt after we've had a large meal. But as well as academic performance, the food children eat fuels their body for growth and for development. They're growing at a very rapid pace at this stage, but often children struggle to eat as their capacity for food is quite small, which is why food needs to be nutrient dense and why nutritious snacks in between meals is actually not a bad thing. We also know that children's eating and food choices are influenced by what they see other people doing. As they get older, their friends and their peers play a large role in influencing food choice, but for primary school age children, it's the teachers themselves and the lunchtime assistants who are role models, and how they interact with food and meal times can affect the developing relationship between the child and food. There are several things that schools can do to encourage children to develop a healthy relationship with food. First of all, self-service. Allow children to serve themselves to food, choosing the portion size that they think they will eat and also where it goes on their plate. This teaches children about self-regulation of appetite and also about portion control. And it helps fussy eaters who might not like foods touching each other or being smothered in gravy. Schools should also allow children to eat mindfully. Essentially, this is to eat to what their bodies tell them. Often, pupils are instructed on what to eat first, second, etc., and are encouraged to clean their plates. Children who have packed lunches should also be allowed to eat their food in their lunch boxes in the order that they choose to do so. When we instruct children to eat, it's a negative feeding practice, which can lead to children growing up to have an unhealthy relationship with food. Even fussy eaters need to be allowed to make their own food choices. Eating together with friends promotes social skills, language development, and it helps them learn table manners from each other. Allowing children to chat over a meal is great. Lunch should never be eaten in silence. It's helpful not to segregate packed lunch pupils so that all children feel equal, irrespective of the food on their plate. It can be really helpful to understand how children are developing cognitively and how this influences their food choices. Young children just starting school are in what we call the pre-operational thinking phase. They think in terms of pictures and words to symbolise the things that they see in the world. This means that they have great imaginations and they live in a magical world that centres around themselves as the most important person. They don't yet understand real and not real, so things to them are true, everything. We often call this phase the magical thinking phase. When it comes to food and eating, magical thinkers don't see a difference between meals and snacks. They're all the same thing to them. And so if snacks are their preferred sweet or high-fat foods, they won't comprehend why meals aren't the same, and they'll just hold out until snack time. Their likes and dislikes are primarily based on what food looks like, and it must be visually appealing. Food in packets aimed at young children are often favoured for this very reason. Taste and flavour come second, but often children won't try a food unless it's visually appealing first. Food must be fun, and if it can be magical too, that's even better. Think sandwiches cut into the shape of dinosaurs. They can have an irrational fear of contamination, which is why divided plates work quite well, and some children need food not to be touching. They understand that eating gives us energy to play, and it's good to teach them that some foods do this better than others. They can often name foods that are healthy, but they can't tell you why, and they believe that non-tasty foods are reserved only for adults. They're not for children. Food will be rejected if they don't like the look of it. And if they do try food, it can be rejected if it doesn't taste nice or if it's been contaminated by touching another food. They tend to dislike bitter flavours the most, hence vegetables often being rejected. Older primary school age children develop into concrete operations, where they began to understand the difference between what's real and not real. They are logical and thinking is rule-based. They are black and white thinkers, where the grey areas in between are disregarded. For example, food will either be perfect or disgusting. There's nothing in between. They reject foods flat out, rather than adapting it. For example, if you serve pizza with onions on the top, they'll reject the whole pizza rather than picking off the onions. It's better to add the onions to the pizza sauce instead. Food decisions now are based on how it tastes rather than what it looks like. Therefore, it's really important that food smells appetizing and tastes delicious. They also choose foods they're familiar with, think pizza, and they're less likely to try something new. As an independent registered dietitian, I've been asked to review Dr. Oetker's pizzas for schools. Despite pizzas having its unhealthy reputation, I can see a lot of thought has gone into making these pizzas healthier. The Balanced Choice pizzas use reduced fat cheese, which is in line with the recommendation to reduce saturated fat in our children's diets. The One of Your 5 a Day pizza has cleverly had over 80 grams of vegetables enriched into its pizza sauce, helping our school-aged children achieve their 5 a day fruit and veg target, without toppings being removed or rejected. Both pizzas supply calcium and iron, which are two important nutrients required during childhood, iron in particular being one that a lot of children don't get enough of. They also provide B vitamins and fibre. Pizza is also a food that appeals to children. It's a fun food, pleasing to magical thinkers who can pick it up and eat it without cutlery. It's visually appealing and it smells and tastes delicious, making it a favourite amongst children. In our Western society, pizza is seen as a fun food. It's often eaten when we come together with our friends to chat, socialise and celebrate. This appeals very much to children who prefer less formal and more social eating experiences.